On today's program, we begin showcasing our Viewers Garden Contest winners with a trip to Colony, Oklahoma in the water garden of Tom and Pam McLemore. Justin Moss visits with fellow Professor Lou Anella about subsurface irrigation systems for turfgrass areas. Public horticulture student Matthew Southall shows a favorite plant in the garden. Barbara Brown prepares a quinoa vegetable salad. And we have gardening tips for September. Gardening is a production of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the land grant mission of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University, dedicated to improving the quality of life of the citizens of Oklahoma through research-based information. Underwriting assistance is provided by TLC, Oklahoma's leading garden center, Southwood Landscape and Nursery, Tulsa's source for great gardens, and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing.
Well, today we're at the home of one of our viewer garden winners. This is Tom and Pam McLemore. And we are actually located south of Weatherford, just about 5 miles from Colony.
Yep.
And it's hot. It's really hot and it's really windy. However, they have created an oasis out here, and we're just so glad that you invited us to come and take a look.
I'm glad you came. Yep.
So, Tom, you're kind of the driving force behind your water garden that you have here. How did you get started with it?
We started really small, about 150 gallon, probably in 2 tanks, and we went up from there. And this is what we ended up with. I mean, and it was a lot of work, but I enjoy it.
Well, that's great. Yeah. So you didn't start out on a huge scale. You kind of expanded.
Yeah.
And do you have plans to expand anymore?
I don't think so. No. I think this is big enough.
So,
yeah.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at some of the things that you have here. Now, this water garden, for the most part, the plants that you have in it are they native? Are they they're winter hardy? Is that correct?
They're winter hardy.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have to take them out of the pond at all. No. The only thing I take out is water papyrus over there. I take those out and put them in my greenhouse.
Oh, very good.
Other than that, I don't take anything out of the pond at all. The water lilies all stay in.
That's great.
And, they just winter over.
Now, how deep is your pond?
At the deepest part, probably about 3.5 feet.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about it getting too much ice on it and freezing stuff out.
It will freeze a little bit on top, but not real bad.
Well, good. No. Very good.
I keep enough water moving with my pumps all winter long that it keeps most of the ice off.
Very good. Now, you were talking about that you enjoy working on this and you've enjoyed putting everything out, but the amount of work that you have to do at this point is not overwhelming, is it?
No. I do a little cleaning on my filters, and other than that, I don't do anything. Maybe add a little water to it is all.
It's very nice. Now, in addition to the larger pond, you also, I noticed that you have some bogs around. What types of plants do you have growing in your bogs?
That is sweet flag in there, and then there's some native arrowheads that I found on the creek here that I put in there. And I'll also have some in some other little tanks on the outside. And
does the tanks on the outside, do you filter water through those, or that's
No, they're just still water. I just keep them full of water.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let them dry up a little bit, and then I'll fill them back up, and there's no circulating water or anything out there at all, and no fish or anything over there. So.
And you have, looks like 3 different kind of water return areas. You've made a fountain, and then tell me what your newest addition that you put in.
We've had that pod, and I made a water feature with it out front. I have a little small one in the front, and I stood it up and put a pump and everything in it, just let it cascade over the side, and it didn't work as well as I thought. So we come up with this plan when we needed more water running through it. So I hooked it up to my bigger pump, and put it on the side, and it works really well.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
I really like the effect that it has.
Mm-hmm.
And it also, this has such a nice sound to it with all of the water.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not real noisy, but you can hear it and sit out here and enjoy it in the evenings. It's a lot cooler than what it is right now. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now tell me about your bridge. I like the design that you have in this.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
We just we went to buy the natural wood or whatever that wood is, composite wood, and we had to go to 2 different places to get it, and that's all we could find. And so we had to kind of stagger it either way and make the boards come out where I have enough to finish from one end to the other. That's all I could find. So.
And it's got metal framework.
And, metal framework and all. So.
Underneath. Oh, okay. So it'll hold a lot of weight then.
Oh, quite a bit of weight. Yeah.
So, well, it's kind of nice when you figure out, even though it's not the original plan, what you end up with at the end is even better.
Even better. Yeah. It turned out really well. Yeah.
So,
it really did.
Well, very good. Now you all, this is kind of your getaway.
Oh yeah.
Back here, you've invested money in this instead of maybe going somewhere, or kind of created a getaway right on your back porch.
Right. Oh yeah.
And that's really nice. I like that a lot.
We have weddings and birthdays here with the family. We had a wedding.
Wonderful.
Here
Yeah.
And you said your pond's pretty much in balance now. Is that
good.
A function of it being larger? Do you think it kind of?
I don't know. It took a while for it to get that way, and I don't know if with the plants and the fish, I had to get it balanced somehow or another. I don't know if it was the salt that I added and kept checking it, the water, pH, and all that kind of stuff. And it took me a little while for it to get it straightened out. So, but yeah, now it's really good.
So, kind of another one of those trial and error things.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah,
just keep at it.
Just kept at it. Yeah, it took
good.
a while. Yeah.
So, well, we really, really do enjoy getting to see your creation and enjoy your oasis with you. And thank you so much for sharing with us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Kathy Adkins, Ambassador to the Botanic Garden at Oklahoma State University. Here are your gardening tips for the month of September. Landscape and general tips for the month of September. Seal up the house to keep out insects and small animals seeking shelter for the winter. Watch for fall specials at garden centers and nurseries, since the fall is a great time to plant many ornamentals. Plant cool season annuals toward the latter part of the month. Prepare tropical houseplants that have been outdoors for the summer to return indoors by placing them in shaded areas so they can adjust to lower light levels. Tips for vegetables for the month of September. Cool season crops like lettuce, radishes, rutabagas, spinach, chard, etc. can be established during September for a fall crop.
Well, we're standing here on a beautiful turfgrass area. It's very green, very beautiful right now. This is a simulated tee box here at the Turfgrass Research Center. And this is irrigated a little bit different. Actually, it's got 2 systems on it. It's got a traditional above ground sprinkler irrigation system, but it also has a below ground subsurface drip irrigation system. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and Dr. Luanella is here to tell us about the components, the advantages and disadvantages of a system. So what do we can't see anything here. What do we got?
Well, we have polyethylene tubes in the ground, probably about 6 inches below the turf. And every 12 or 18 inches, they have an emitter in there that allows the water to drip out. And that emitter is an amazing piece of engineering. It has a check valve in there so that the water doesn't run out at the low end. They're supposed to be self-cleaning. They're supposed to be pressure compensating, so the same amount of water comes out over the whole area. They're really quite amazing. And so every 12 inches, 18 inches, 24 inches, you can buy them of different lengths. There's a small hole in the polyethylene, and it lets the water come out at a very nice, slow rate.
So you mentioned different spacing, 12 or maybe 18 inches. What, for the soil, what does it matter if it's 12 or 18 inches? How does that affect it?
Well, the soil actually determines what spacing you'd use. So if you think about a sandy soil, that water is going to move fairly quickly and fairly straight down. So you would need a pipe with the spacings shorter. But in a clay soil, that water is actually going to spread out, and so you can get away with having the emitters 2 feet away. Actually, it would be better to have them 2 feet away so that you don't put too much water down too quickly.
So in a system like this, the water is being dripped underground instead of sprayed above the ground. What are some, just for water conservation or water efficiency, what are some advantages there?
Well, the advantage is you're putting the water exactly where you want it. You know, you don't necessarily want water up on the trees, up on the leaves. That can cause disease. So you're putting the water exactly where you want it. And almost every spray irrigation system you've ever seen has the pressure too high. And so when you get that misting, that's a waste of water. That water can evaporate and just disappear. So here, all the water is going exactly to the roots, right to the roots. Very little waste. Now you can overwater even with a drip system. So you can get runoff, you can overwater, but typically it is much more efficient.
And then what about the drip rate, or what does the emitter emit? Is it a lot of water, a little water? How does that work?
Again, there's a range. You can buy different products, but usually it's 0.4 gallons per hour, not minute, but per hour, right. Or 0.6 or 0.9. So gallons per hour. So it's a very, very slow rate.
And then if you were to compare that to, there's two systems here, so there's the above ground system. How much water would that be putting out, would you say?
So the spray irrigation system will be putting out 1 to 2 gallons per minute, not per hour.
Wow. So a big difference in the amount of water that's going out, and you're putting it at the roots versus above the ground. Now, what about disadvantages? Why isn't everybody doing this? You know, in Oklahoma, there's not a lot of these systems. Why not?
Well, it really isn't efficient if you're going to do a really large area. So for a small area like this, a tee box, it really works quite well. But if you're going to try to do a soccer field, you know, that's going to be a lot of pipe under the ground, and that's going to cost a lot of money. So you've got to trench that in, or get it down under the surface, so that's going to be very labor intensive. In this situation here, we're actually using non-potable water. So the water is not very clean. And those little holes that are in the polyethylene pipe can clog very easily. So we always have a filter, always have a filter on a drip system. Well, here, that filter is getting clogged within 5 minutes of us turning the water on. So in this situation, it's actually not working very well at all because we don't have a nice, clean water source. So the filter's getting clogged, and you'd have to be cleaning it all the time. So even at home though, like once a year, you've got to clean that filter because it will get deposits on it and it will affect the efficiency. Another reason that makes drip a little bit more difficult to use is people aren't familiar with it. And also, it's all under the ground. Is it working? I don't know. Is it working? So, you've got to, there are some things you can do to know whether or not it's working. There's actually these little flags you can buy that will pop up when your system is working. And you can also measure the pressure on the line. So when you put this system in, you measure the pressure, and then as the system, ages, you keep measuring that pressure. And if the pressure goes down, then you might have a leak somewhere. If pressure goes up, you've probably got clogging somewhere. So there are things you can do to know whether or not the system is working, but it is a challenge.
So another thing that's often talked about is, people ask, well, what about if I need to apply a fertilizer or a pesticide and the label says, well, I need to wash that in, or for fertilizer, I need to water that in lightly. What do I do there with a subsurface drip system?
I don't know. I don't know, honestly, whether or not if you watered it heavily enough, whether or not it would bring the fertilizers down, not by washing it in, but sort of dissolving it and letting it flow down with the water profile. I really don't know. I don't know if research has been done on that or not. But for fertilizer like nitrogen, I'm sure that would happen. But whether or not pre-emergent, for example, is going to get dissolved well enough and brought down into the profile of that, I'm really not sure.
So with a system like this, there seems to be a lot of advantages, a few disadvantages as well. What do you think is the key driver for something like this? What would be the top important reason why I'd want to do something or try this out?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because in many communities, especially in California and maybe in Texas as well, it's code. If you have a narrow strip between like a sidewalk and a street where you don't have a wide area, you have to use drip by code. So there's a real good reason to use it. And then if you just want to try to conserve water, I like to use drip because it's very versatile. So if I want to just change the shape of the bed, I can do it. The polyethylene pipe can just bend. You know, if this had all sprinkler irrigation and I wanted to change the shape of the bed, that would be a pretty big job to redo the PVC pipe and move things around. But with drip, with polyethylene, it's extremely flexible. It's extremely easy to move it around and make different shapes.
So several things to consider for subsurface drip here in Oklahoma. Thank you very much for your insights, Dr. Anella.
My pleasure.
Turfgrass tips. Early September is the last opportunity to fertilize warm season grasses. Don't apply fertilizer much past the middle of the month. Winter broadleaf weeds like dandelion will begin to emerge in late September, which is also the best time to control them with a 2,4-D type herbicide. Pre-emergent control of winter annual weeds in the lawn, like henbit, chickweed, and annual bluegrass, should be completed by the second week of September. Don't treat areas that will be seeded in the fall. Plan to seed bluegrass, fescue, or ryegrass as needed in shady areas in mid to late September. Fall is the best time to establish cool season grasses. We hope you'll join us for Garden Fest September 26th at the Botanic Garden. There'll be vendors and lots of gardening activities, followed by a concert at 2:30 featuring the Red Dirt Rangers. Please come join us.
Hello, my name is Matthew Southall, and I am a student intern here at the Botanic Garden at Oklahoma State University. I'm also a public horticulture major. I've had a chance to work with a lot of different plants, but one of my favorites is the passion vine. Passion vine is a member of Passiflora genus, and that includes about 500 species of plants distributed across the tropics and subtropics, including 9 species which are native to the United States. One of those species we have here at the Children's Garden is Passiflora incarnata, or the purple passion flower. This variety is called Inspiration, and it is certainly a great addition to any creative gardener's garden, being that it has these spectacularly complex blossoms. The complex flowers have inspired many myths and legends across the globe, including many stories with religious symbology in the Christian and the Hindu traditions. They're also quite fragrant and produce an edible fruit, the passion fruit. The vine is a perennial, and it is quite easy to grow. It grows quite fast, up to 15 feet in a season. So you may need to trim it back every couple of months to keep it from becoming invasive. It's also quite disease and pest resistant due to a number of naturally occurring chemical compounds that the plant contains. There are a few insects you may not want to consider a pest, including a number of species of long-winged butterflies, including this guy, which is the caterpillar for the Gulf fritillary butterfly, which uses Passiflora incarnata as its exclusive larval host. I've really enjoyed getting to know this plant, and I think it would be a wonderful addition to any garden landscape.
Sometimes it's fun to follow trends, and the reason I like to do it is because it usually lets me try something I'm not real familiar with, and so I get more chance to experiment. So today I'm doing a quinoa salad. In fact, it's a quinoa vegetable salad for you. So I've already cooked my quinoa and got it ready to go because it is going to be a salad and I wanted it to be cool before I started. But quinoa looks like this. It's a very tiny, it goes in the grain category. It's actually a seed. And when it's cooked, you can actually see some little curlicues coming out around it, almost like bands. So there's a little bit of the uncooked and the cooked sitting together. It's also very tiny, so it gets away from you really, really fast. It's a complete protein, and that's part of the reason that it's so popular. It allows people who are vegan or vegetarian to include more protein in their diets. But that's also a plus for the rest of us who enjoy a good piece of meat or chicken or fish. So I've got 1 cup of quinoa that I cooked. That means I've added 2 cups of water to it and proceeded from there to let it cook 15-20 minutes, whatever the package says. Now the question on quinoa is, do you need to rinse it before you cook? And the answer is maybe. If the package that you purchase says it's pre-washed, then you don't have to wash it. The reason that you're washing it is because it grows in high altitudes, and so it's developed this defensive mechanism, which is a coating on each of those seeds of a compound called saponin. That saponin works very well to keep the sun's rays out, but it's bitter or soapy, depending on how you perceive it. Some people one and some people the other. And so we want to rinse it off before we consume it. So if someone else has done it for you, because it's water soluble, it goes away. If you end up having to wash it yourself, put it in a sieve, use your fingers to stir it around. It's water soluble, but it likes a little bit of agitation in order to move itself off a little bit more quickly. Then put it in a bowl and basically cook it like rice, which means you can cook it in your rice cooker if you've got one, and that may free you up if you're a little unsure about cooking, the timing, the scorching, and some things like that in a pan. Cooking it in a rice cooker if you've got one works great. Just use the same proportions you do when you cook white rice, which is 2 parts water, 1 part quinoa in this case, and follow the directions on your rice cooker and you'll be good. All right, so we've got basically 3 cups of quinoa here. I'm going to make a dressing for this that is going to involve a tablespoon of red wine vinegar, about a half a teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper. If you'd like some lemon juice, a little squirt of lemon juice, maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon would be nice here as well. And then about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. We're just going to whisk those together a little bit, and once you get this started, this is not going to be a full suspension by the time we add the lemon juice or the olive oil. I've got 1/4 of a cup of olive oil. So we're going to whisk this in slowly. We do have a couple of things that are going to help us keep this from going out of solution, and one of those, or break the emulsion, one of those would be the dry mustard. Is going to be the biggest help on that. So just finish whisking that together. And then we're ready to add the other ingredients. This is really fairly quick. You can do it ahead of time, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm adding a half a cup of cucumber. If your cucumber skin is tough, peel it first. If you've got really big seeds in it, you may want to seed it as well. If you use a young cucumber, you may not need to do either of those things. The same with an English cucumber, you may not need to do either of those things. You're going to put in a 1/4 of a cup of chopped green pepper, about 2 tablespoons of chopped onion, and then this was 12 black olives. The black olive of your choice is what's going in here, the one you either have or the one you like the most. If it's pitted, obviously you're going to pit it, and then chop it down from there. Re-whisk our dressing, pour it over the top, and then we're simply going to stir these together a little bit. It's a pretty tough salad. The grains are pretty sturdy. Some people will toast quinoa. a little bit, either in a dry pan or a pan with a little bit of oil before they start cooking it. If you choose to do that, if you do it in oil, remember that you've added that oil and subtract the oil later on. Otherwise, it tends to be a little bit greasy. It's usually around somewhere between a teaspoon and a tablespoon that gets used. All right, this is it. Quinoa vegetable salad. Really good for a nice summer meal. Again, it's a complete protein, so it can be the meal if you choose. I hope you'll try it. For Oklahoma Gardening, this is Barbara Brown.
Next week, we continue with our Viewers Garden Contest winners with a beautiful low water use garden in Oklahoma City. Turfgrass specialist Dennis Martin identifies some summer weeds. Extension entomologist Eric Rubeck talks webworms. And we travel to Muskogee, Oklahoma to visit a daycare that uses gardening as part of its curriculum. Join us then for more TV You'll Grow to Love. To find out more information about show topics, as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure and visit our website, oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. And we always have great information, answers to questions, photos, and gardening discussions on your favorite social media as well. Join in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows, as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater jewel. We wish to thank our generous underwriters, TLC Garden Centers, Southwood Landscape and Garden Center, and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. Additional support is provided by Pond Pro Shops, Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, and the Oklahoma Horticultural Society.